Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto explaining, bringing you guys another Boruto 2 Blue Vortex discussion. Today, I want to talk to you guys about the big elephant in the room that many of us have either been forced to collectively hold our heads in shame or make us hold our breath and reach for those tissue boxes at the thought of a beloved legacy character from Naruto's manga, Konohamaru Sarutobi, who now appears to be on the verge of getting eaten. Making no mistake here by me in the delivery, Konohamaru going down against Matsuri. For all the jokes that we make about Loahamaru, Konohamaru dying a virgin, Konohamaru being trash, Konohamaru having peaked at the age of 12 years old when he stunned one of the pains, didn't even destroy it. For all of those jokes and insults, Konohamaru going down to Matsuri, it is a really big deal. Fun fact, to drive home how big of a deal this is, he has been in Naruto's manga technically longer than Sasuke or Sakura since he debuted in Naruto Chapter 2, a full chapter before we ever saw Sasuke or Sakura, making him more of an OG to the series than even Sasuke. Join me in today's newest Naruto Explained video where we take a look at why Konohamaru getting consumed by Matsuri might be the best thing for the story and might actually be the thing that is best for Konohamaru's character, which for the Konohamaru fans, to show you how serious I am about this topic, I'm not even going to make fun of the guy after this moment here. I'm that serious in regards to as to why this is best for business when it comes to the story of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex. Also, as a quick reminder, the chapter review for chapter 19 of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, it is up on the channel right now. We had to publish the review a couple of days after the official release due to the storm that happened earlier this week, so that delayed the editor that I used for the chapter reviews, but we still managed to maintain the quality that you've seen in reviews 1 through 18 of 2 Blue Vortex. So I thank you for your patience and your understanding. For those of you guys who have not seen the review, I'll leave it in the description box as well as in the end credits of this video for you to check out. Now, Konohamaru's potential death at the hands of Matsuri in Boruto 2 Blue Vortex would be one of the most thematically rich and emotionally devastating moments in the entire series. It would elevate the stakes in ways that Boruto's story, being blunt, has sorely and severely lacked. Now, let's break this down from multiple angles because there's a lot of layers here. I'm really excited to talk about this. So the thematic symbolism you have is love, regret, and the fleeting nature of life. They're all intertwined. Konohamaru's character arc has long revolved around his aspirations and relationships, both of which would come full circle in the cruelest ways possible. If he were to die just as he realized his feelings for Moegi, his death would symbolize the unspoken tragedy of love. Just as Konohamaru recognizes his love for Moegi, he is taken from her, making their romance an unfinished story whenever she does get restored. This echoes the idea in Japanese literature and most importantly in no theater that unfulfilled love leads to suffering and regret, with spirits often lingering due to an emotional attachment that's left unresolved. It's not by mistake that Matsuri is made from someone who was in love with Konohamaru. That is a classic no theater story when you just sit down and you think about it. Moegi had unresolved feelings, potentially unrealized feelings, as in she didn't realize that she was in love with the guy, until we get to the chapter where she looks like she's very annoyed at the possibility of Konohamaru, quote, ogling and drooling over Ada, someone who had just previously been said to have been considered super beautiful. It's not much, but those were seeds being planted. The same way that all of a sudden the Shinji, based off of Moegi's chakra, is in love with Konohamaru. And she's freaking out over the fact that Konohamaru won't let her call him Konohamaru-chan because that is a term of endearment, is a term to signify closeness. Ada spoon feeds us to us as the audience that Matsuri wants what is attached and associated with that term, not necessarily just being able to call him that specifically, but the meaning behind it, which is why she was so pissed off and calling Moegi all these different names in the chapter out of jealousy, acting like a vengeful spirit. That directly is a twist on no theater. It's alluding to something that Moegi might feel for Konohamaru, and she ends up becoming a monster after never getting the chance to confess those feelings. That's why that happened. But again, this is where the twist comes in. She herself is not the monster, but the monster is made from her chakra. Chakra contains emotions. That's part of yin chakra. If you've been watching the channel, especially in the last year, you've heard me speak a whole lot about different things in Japanese culture, etc. It's because Ikimoto and Kishimoto are mixing in a lot of Japanese stuff into Boruto, and it's stuff that as Western fans, unless you have really digged into Japanese culture from multiple angles, some of the stuff's gonna go over your head. That's why this arc has been focusing so much on love, in particular during this time when you've had Matsuri in the position that she is in and the circumstances that led to her birth. Now, a harsh lesson about inattention is the other thing that this whole story is doing. So had Konohamaru paid a closer attention to Moegi during his life, he might have recognized her love for him earlier and avoided this fate. This reflects a common theme in Japanese folklore, where characters ignore signs that are right in front of them only to regret it when it's too late. An example, Urashima Taro, the guy that inspired Urashiki's character, or many stories that you have with people marrying supernatural beings without realizing their true nature until it's too late. With Urashima Taro, that's somebody that lost several dozens of years of his life in his story. That's why Urashiki had the time travel arc in the anime. Now, the cruel irony here would also be self-actualization. Konohamaru had always aimed to become Hokage, yet his fate may prove that not all dreams come true. No matter how long, no matter how hard one chases them. His failure, it contrasts with Naruto's success. Konohamaru is Naruto's first rival in the manga. Konohamaru doesn't get to achieve the goal that he laid out with Naruto and that he doubled down on when he's speaking to Tsunade and says that I'm going to be the Hokage after Naruto. Shikamaru has not officially been Hokage. This reinforces the idea that not every shinobi story has a grand conclusion. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but that really works when you think of it from that perspective. And I want to lay it on even thicker here. So I want to go into the symbolism in Shinto, Buddhism, and Japanese folklore even further. So Konohamaru's tragic end here, it would resonate with many spiritual and mythological themes. Shinto and Buddhism's concepts of impermanence, his death, right after realizing his love for Moegi, which is what we saw, where he's thinking all back to how Moegi's the only person that ever called him Konohamaru-chan, which it should be worth noting, she never called Udon-chan, and he's recalling that, and now he's pushing back whenever Matsuri's calling him that, and you got Ada again saying that it's not the word so much as what the word symbolizes that Matsuri wants. Is cliche shonen character realizes way too late, hey, this girl actually likes me. It is a textbook example of Mujo, the Buddhist idea of nothing in life is permanent. Just as he reaches his epiphany, his life, it is taken, reminding readers that life is fragile and that human nature in of itself is fragile. You also have the yokai-like possession and supernatural transformation. So Matsuri, who is made from Moegi's chakra, behaves very similar to jealous spirits in Japanese folklore, the vengeful spirits that harm lovers who reject them. She suppresses her love for Konohamaru, but ultimately concludes the only way to rid herself of it is to consume him, mirroring many stories that you have like Yuki Onna, which is the Snow Woman. Really recommend looking up that story if you want to learn more, where love between a supernatural being and a human, it ends in death. Ikimoto is just putting his own spin onto it. The consumption of the beloved as a form of a spiritual union is also there as well. So in some Buddhist and Shinto legends, consuming a loved one or a deity, consuming a human, it represents an attempt to merge with them spiritually. Matsuri's desperate, painful love, which causes her physical pain, as we saw, where she says that her head is hurting because of the feelings that she's feeling, it could be interpreted as being a dark parallel to this, symbolizing how unchecked emotions can lead to destruction rather than connection. Go back to the chapter and look at how one of the things you have is how Ada is saying, Konohamaru, you don't get it. Matsuri wants something deeper than just being able to call you by that name. She wants that connection that comes from being able to call you the name. I know some of you guys hate me going so deep into the Japanese folklore and the religions and etc., but this is where a lot of this inspiration is coming from, and I strongly believe when you have a firm grasp of it, you get a deeper appreciation for the storytelling that's being told right now. Now, the other thing, to move off of that and go back to the narrative weight, in particular when it comes to Konohamaru, as of right now, his perceived death, it's a opportunity to show his death as being a harsh reality check. So Konohamaru's death would reinforce the idea that some dreams, they don't come true, no matter how hard someone works. The shinobi world, it remains brutal. No character is safe, even in this era where Naruto was able to vanquish multiple Otsutsuki and was able to usher in this time of peace. Having Konohamaru die after Naruto is taken away from the shinobi world, it fits into that parallel. We're seeing the very world that Naruto worked so hard to establish begin to unravel, and it's because the guy that was the glue holding everything together is no longer here. It would be a, again, inverse and poetic twist of fate to have Konohamaru die. Love, also, if it's ignored and unspoken, it can lead to regret. That's one of the themes that we're seeing. If Konohamaru dies here, it solidifies Boruto 2 Blue Vortex as a story that does not protect legacy characters simply for the sake of nostalgia. Boruto Part 1 still did that. It killed off Kurama, but Kurama came back to life. The only real deaths that we had in it were characters that when you read the manga, you cared nothing about, like Mujino. You cared more about him with how he was handled in the anime. Death in battle shonen, when it's done correctly, it elevates a story. Hidan and Kakuzu do not feel like as big of a threat if they don't kill Asuma. That's just one example. This would also further establish a far darker and more mature tone, one where anyone can die at any moment, which makes sense. Again, Jura is out there. These Shinju are being billed as being incredibly powerful and dangerous. It would make the future battles more intense, and most importantly, we still need to know what happens when a Shinju is able to consume the person that they're after. Konohamaru unfortunately checks a lot of those boxes to be used in that way, but we'll get to that later. So you also have to look at the impact of what it's going to do for Boruto's character, Sarada's character, Mitsuki's character, and Moegi's character. So Boruto, he would feel the weight of losing Konohamaru the hardest. Look at how he wants to go out there and he's being stopped by Kashin Koji. Konohamaru is his mentor. He is someone that Konohamaru, when Boruto's growing up, he would continuously hear Boruto call him Big Brother Konohamaru. That is one of Boruto's closest bonds from childhood, and it is compounded when you look at omnipotence. Konohamaru would die believing that Boruto's an enemy, unable to acknowledge their true relationship because his memories of Boruto have been swapped. This would devastate Boruto, further reinforcing his isolation and making him more prone to some of the teachings that Kashin Koji is saying that as a singularity of fate, he must stay detached. That's going to make him prone to either lean more into what Kashin Koji is saying or further reject what Kashin Koji is saying because he does not want to go through that feeling and that tragedy of being erased from a world where the people he cares for are not able to be protected. He's basically willingly erasing himself and only reinserting himself into certain stakes if it guides the world to a proper timeline. That goes against Boruto's character. Something like this could be that conflict we need. Think of it like having a propane tank next to an open fire. Eventually, that propane tank is going to roll into that open fire and you get an explosion. Now, when you look at Sarada, she shares Konohamaru's Hokage dream. His death would force her to confront the fragility of that goal. If she dies, would her dream also die unfinished? It could be the motivation she needs to solidify her conviction, to push harder to become worthy of being Hokage. Now, with Mitsuki, the irony here would be absolutely cruel. Mitsuki is the son of Orochimaru, the man who killed Konohamaru's grandfather, Hiruzen Sarutobi. So if you have a situation where Mitsuki witnesses this or finds the body afterwards, it's going to stir very complicated feelings about his place in the world. Because even though he's not the one that killed Konohamaru, Konohamaru died on a mission that he was taking part in. It's going to lead to some form of regret. It's going to lead to some questioning. What if I did this? What if I got here sooner? It's an inverse to Orochimaru killing Hiruzen Sarutobi. Orochimaru did it willingly when he forced here isn't to suicide himself. Here, this is an unwilling spawn of Orochimaru finding the death of somebody that he never intended to lose. Then when you look at Moegi, this is the most tragic of the consequences, and it just goes back to, again, no theater in Japanese. If Konohamaru dies without ever expressing his feelings, Moegi, she's going to carry that weight forever, knowing that she loved him, but he was taken from her before she could ever express her feelings. And unless she has access to anything that potentially happened with Konohamaru, like say Matsuri eats Konohamaru and is able to take his chakra in. Chakra contains memories. When Matsuri is eventually defeated and Moegi is brought back from whatever state that she's in, sealed in that tree, you have the opportunity that maybe those memories that are in the chakra in Konohamaru, which would theoretically be part of her because of Thorn Soul Bulb, she might know that Konohamaru felt the same. Again, we don't necessarily need Moegi to verbally say, I love Konohamaru, when the story has dropped enough subtle seeds in there for you to make that connection. Matsuri is not feeling those emotions if they were not already inside of Moegi. Moegi is not going to say, Konohamaru better not be ogling and drooling over Ada, a younger female who everyone says is attractive. We've seen a whole hell of a lot less in Battle Shonen be used to connect tissue to have characters suddenly hook up together, especially with characters that we barely see in the manga, especially Moegi. She was in a grand whopping 4 chapters of part 1. This could drive Moegi into despair or anger, potentially giving her a stronger role moving forward, especially in the aftermath of this whole Shinju conflict. Now, this would also raise the stakes for Boruto's story, so it confirms the true danger of the Shinju. So again, we've never seen what happens when a Shinju actually eats the human that they are searching for. If Matsuri consumes Konohamaru, it provides an answer while making the Shinju a much greater existential threat. It also ends the safety net for legacy characters. Up until now, legacy characters, Naruto, Sasuke, Shikamaru, they've all survived, even when critically in danger. Naruto got sealed away, Sasuke got defeated, and because he's in the tree, he's technically sealed away, and Shikamaru is sitting in the Hokage office smoking cigars all day. Killing Konohamaru, it removes this security, and it makes the audience question, hey, who might be next? It also gives Matsuri some depth. Instead of just being another enemy, Matsuri, because we've seen her struggle with the concept of love, it makes her a tragic monster rather than just an obstacle. Again, she's being written like a classic no villain. The final thoughts here is basically gonna be this. So I do believe this is the perfect death for Konohamaru. If Konohamaru is fated to die here, this is the best possible way for it to happen. It's poetic, it's tragic, it's thematically rich, and it's narratively impactful. It serves as a cautionary tale about regret, unspoken love, and the cruel nature of fate, while also solidifying the new dangers present in Boruto 2 Blue Vortex. His death would not just be a shock moment, but an emotionally turning point that leaves lasting scars on the entire cast and audience alike. Obviously, if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing and checking out more videos from Naruto Explained, like this chapter review for chapter 19 if you want my full thoughts on the chapter, or click here to watch this video for my Anime Explained channel, where we go super in depth about other series that aren't Naruto in the form of video essays, chapter reviews, explained videos, and so much more.